Welcome to Tell Me Exactly, an emergency communication podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Benton. I'm filling in for Meredith Jensen. And today, I'm proud to say we have in our studios Mark Von Behren, and we're telling you exactly what makes police dispatch different from medical and fire dispatch. Mark, good to have you, buddy.
Thank you for having me, Bobby.
Good to see you come back, man. I enjoy every time you come see us.
We had a blast last time, didn't we?
Oh, we sure did. If you would, introduce yourself to the our listening audience out there. Tell us a little about yourself.
Okay. I'm Mark Von Behren. I come to you from Eastern North Carolina, where I was a retired police lieutenant, did over 30 years at New Bern, North Carolina. I had a variety of assignments over the years, but my last assignment, I would say, was my best assignment, being the director of communications there. And prior to retirement, I stepped into teaching the protocols for police for priority dispatch, and been teaching the protocols for the last 7 years or so. And just most recently, the past year, a little bit more than a year, stepped up and working full-time for priority dispatch as one of the two police protocol experts. During my career, I had a host of different assignments, variety of assignments, as I said, but spent some time in tactical situations and tactical training, a variety of tactical training, things of that nature. But I am probably my most distinguished accomplishment as far as training in my career was being chosen to attend the FBI National Academy in Quantico for 10 weeks. I was in the 260th session there, and got some great friends from around the world do that course. Had a blast.
Did you have to carry the brick?
I did. I do possess my yellow brick. I did. Yep.
Yes.
It was shortly after a knee surgery that I went there, and I did complete the yellow brick road. So I'm very proud of that. Yeah.
Our listeners out there that knows about the FBI Academy are going to know about the yellow brick, aren't they?
If they know anything about the National Academy, they definitely know.
Oh, well, like I said, glad to have you here, buddy. We are all under the conception that police dispatch, fire, and medical, they're the same. Is that right?
Absolutely not. Not even close. One of the things that in emergency services we know in communications, part of that profession is that a call comes in for chest pains or shortness of breath or a cut or something like that, a fall, anything of that nature. Those factors don't ever change from start to finish. The EMS rigs roll out there, pick up the folks, and that's fairly standardized and don't differ. Carrying forward with the fire aspect, the firemen are going to respond out there to a structure fire, a grease fire, maybe a carbon monoxide fire, alarm or something of that nature. That doesn't typically change, but in law enforcement, the calls can be extremely dynamic in the fact that a call may initially come in from a location as I always like to use the barking dog call. What every cop doesn't want to take for a call, right?
That's a nuisance, ain't it?
That's that nuisance. Or depending on the time of day, a disturbance of sorts. But shortly after the barking dog call comes in, another call taker takes a call for shots fired. You know, in the same neighborhood we have, the barking dog to shots fired. Your mind can kind of start reeling there into thinking, well, did somebody possibly shoot at the dog because it's barking late at night? Or what in the world's going on here? And then the third call comes into the center for the same location, maybe different callers, and we have a man down. So did somebody shoot the dog's owner? Is somebody shooting at the dog? Again, what are the dynamics going on here? And it's much more different than the standardized medical or fire calls.
So when you're dealing with police calls compared to fire and medical pretty much know what they're going to.
Yes.
Where police might not.
Right. Yeah, we do have that unknown factor in there.
But fire and medical still dispatch. They go to the shootings and the stabbings and all that other good stuff too. But what's difference in the information you got to get, or our telecommunicators got to respond, relay to our officers compared to what they would get like just taking a medical call?
Yeah, there's just a whole litany of questions that could come into play there, Bobby, from the officer safety standpoint, whether we got weapons involved, to a suspect involved, description of the suspect, to any other additional information that our callers may tell us. That we got to have those protocols in place that take us down a path to easily walk every single call taker down the same path and get the right questions asked, get the answers, and proceed forward.
Well, what makes the police call takers' questions different than it is medical to the fact that they're responding to the same call? Why is the police questions different?
Well, again, the nature of the calls, medical, fire versus police, is one that if that fire department is responding for medical needs or EMS, whatever it may be, they are not going to actually check on scene or be in place that they could put themselves in harm's way. So we are going to get the police there first, or law enforcement, whether it's sheriff, whatever it may be, and get the scene secured so that we can bring in our medical professionals.
So basically, we need more, as far as law enforcement needs more information on not necessarily the victim or the medical issues of it, but more suspects and weapons and things of that nature. Is that what I'm understanding?
Absolutely, yeah. Scene safety. Basically, in a nutshell, you could take scene safety from everything from the location to a suspect and or a victim. Where are we going to, and what are we stepping into? And we need to get as much information as we can for our first responders.
Now, do we have to ask all these type of questions for every type of call we deal with?
Not necessarily. Again, the dynamics of it is basically the software end of the protocols is that it's going to take us down a different pathway depending on the questions that are asked and the answers we receive. And that is extremely dynamic in how that works.
I'm pretty sure throughout your career, you probably have some situations that you might remember where maybe something would be handled differently if it was information was relayed differently.
Oh, absolutely. One thing, Bobby, is always comes to my mind in our travels, separate and apart from North Carolina being a police officer, is that you and I both worked in a municipal area. Yes, we had friends and family in sheriff's offices that handled a rural area. Their response may not only just take longer, that they have to take things at a different approach. They don't necessarily may not have the resources in a county, in a rural area like we may have in a municipality.
So even with that, according to the area that they're in, the type of call that's coming in, all that has a dynamic on police where whether it's a rural area or heavy populated area, when you're dealing with the structure fire, you're dealing with a structure fire. You're dealing with medical side, you're dealing with chest pains, you're dealing with chest pains, where the response time, even possibly backup might become an issue for law enforcement.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you and I come from Eastern North Carolina and counties that it may take a sheriff's department deputy to run from one end of the county to the other can take 20, 30 minutes to get there.
What do you think some of the pitfalls with police dispatch that you've seen throughout your career?
Most of my career was hinged upon some form of training, and training is just absolutely essential from day one. Whether it's starting the police academy into communications and communications training, field training, things of that nature, the training aspect has got to be standardized because we do typically in management and leadership and supervision, we got the rollover. We've got the open positions and folks stepping in or not stepping in a profession with 20 years of experience of being a police officer, deputy, or a communicator. So we got to treat every single one of those persons the same coming in the door, give them the exact training, get them up to speed as fast as we can, as efficiently as we can, but also, again, standardized.
Are you seeing nowadays that more, not meaning anything bad when I say this, but a lot of our new telecommunicators are coming in that don't have the street smarts like what we had when we were growing up?
Yeah, it's definitely, in my opinion, has been a different job market for some in the aspect that, growing up as kids, we didn't have the electronics things that the folks have nowadays. So we had more time literally on the street on our bicycles and out there, as opposed my grandchildren are sitting in the sofa playing on their iPod and their iPad and their tablet and all these other things. They're not seeing these other things that are occurring out on the street. It's just a different viewpoint. But I will say this, I think that the generation coming in, they are embracing the technology and they are striving to get as much information as they can to get up to speed like the veterans have. So I think in that aspect, I think we do a great job with providing the training to standardize things to bringing folks up to speed as fast as we can.
That sounds great. Now, a lot of times I hear that officers got to respond to everything. Do they have to respond to everything?
Not necessarily. One of the great things about this position you and I deal with now on the implementation side of police protocols is getting in there and dealing with the jurisdictional questions that are optional for some agencies. And as you know, those questions have grown over the past couple of years to afford agencies to customize what it is they want and don't want, questions they do and don't want. But again, going back to possible shortages from communication centers to law enforcement agencies, the opportunity to take a lower acuity or a not in progress event, so to speak, say a damage to your mailbox that you wake up in the morning and walk out to. When we know that it happened last night or sometime throughout the night, we are going to identify that as what you and I know to be a cold call or past event, with the jurisdiction determining what kind of timeline they want, and that we don't have any actor in place, no suspect person or vehicle in the area. And then the agency has the opportunity. Is this something that, as you said, do we really need that officer to respond? If not, there's options in the protocol to walk down the path of possibly what we're calling an Omega. And Omega has that option if the agency chooses to use telephone reporting, online reporting, or even possibly a referral.
So not physically send an officer out there and either taking it by other means.
Yep, absolutely.
But still not depriving our citizens of what they need.
Sure, there's that aspect is always available to where where the call taker gets in there and gets towards the end of a possible Omega, if that citizen absolutely wants an officer or deputy to come out there, then that's the route that we can take.
So with the EPD Pro QA, it sort of like streamlines it for you?
Absolutely. Very robust, intelligent system that, again, goes back to those questions and walks our call takers down the path necessary.
But you're not going to come into my agency and tell me this is what you have to do, are you?
Absolutely not. These are all jurisdictionally approved questions and things that these agencies in the implementation phase have decisions to make. We got to do the heavy lifting on the front end so that it is streamlined and works efficiently for, it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, wherever you may be, tailored to what they want.
Whether it's metro or rural or whatever.
Absolutely.
So you can have one agency that's going to send 2 units to this one agency is going to say, oh, we're doing that by phone. We ain't got time to mess with that.
Those are absolutely their decisions to make. Yep, we don't ever want to take that away from the agency. That makes it, we're not going to do that.
So with the Police Priority Dispatch System, EPD, short version of it, it can save time and resources, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that you could consider is, most law enforcement agencies, most of them, there are some that are stepping away from, most law enforcement agencies take a lot of alarm calls, and it doesn't matter whether we're talking about a carbon monoxide alarm or a burglary alarm or whatever it may be. There's agencies that take thousands of those calls every month. And if we can streamline that process through our questioning to minimize the impact to not only communication center, questions they got to ask, but also from the law enforcement perspective, I think that's beneficial to the jurisdiction.
But streamlining these questions, won't that jeopardize the officer's safety?
Never. That's our number one goal. All our incident priorities in EPD, number one is always officer safety, officer and or deputy safety. That never is going to be jeopardized. Never.
Okay, you can take 10, 15 burglary alarm calls all day long, and a lot of them at the same location. You understand what I mean there?
Yep.
But that 16th one, it comes in as a burglar alarm. But guess what? That's right. It ain't just an alarm, is it?
No. And I can reflect back to my training days early on in my law enforcement career where I started, and I had a field training officer responding to an alarm call at a gas station in the middle of the night. And when I pulled up to the scene, the suspect was coming out the back window and taking off. And I was young enough then I could chase him down, and I caught him. But that was one of the few ones over the years that, with those calls that we take, they're typically bad guys are long gone.
But it's sort of on the same line. We had this one business that was, the alarm would come in every night, same time every night, and the business was closing up. And I was sitting talking with my sergeant with the cars parked beside each other when the alarm came in, and it's like, yeah, they're closing up again, and then we realized, wait a minute, today's Sunday, they ain't open.
Yeah,
sure enough, front window's busted out.
Right.
So,
right.
So yeah, the very time you get, I use the C word, get complacent in law enforcement,
right,
it comes back and bites you.
And that's exactly what the protocols do for us now, Bobby. It takes that complacency out of the calls, the questions, and the calls for service, but it never compromises the standards of again the 4 incident priorities.
All right, well, Mark, thank you for coming in here, man. I appreciate it. I love talking to you each time we get the opportunity to do this. If you don't mind, I'd like to bring you back on a couple more.
I'd absolutely love to. Appreciate you having me, Bobby.
All right, thank you, sir. And for our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, give us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts. Let us know what you did like. Subscribe and be sure to follow us on our Instagram, our Facebook at Tell Me Exactly. Tell Me Exactly is a Priority Dispatch Corporation podcast. It's developed by our team of protocol experts and is regularly hosted by Meredith Jensen. I'm Bobby Benton, serving as a guest host with Cody Ekman as producer, Reading Roberts as sound engineer, and Scott Robertson and Jason Barber as executive producer.